A sealed document is live. You may not have seen the files, but I guarantee that the Queen Mother told you everything that went in them. Now we can go back and forth in your foyer, or you can invite me in and tell me what's going on. This is Bedtime Stories, Grown-Up Edition, Genesis, Part 3. When we left off, both Natalia and Sincere had more questions about one another than they had answers. And True had put her training as a finisher to good use. She'd kept her head, evaluated the scene, analyzed her options, and did what had to be done to keep herself and her baby safe. As a result, she was able to get to the panic room, where she found Bosch, in need of medical attention, and a bit of levity to keep him conscious. Now shirtless because she'd used strips of her shirt as a makeshift tourniquet and pressure dressings stopped brutal Bosch from bleeding out. True's attention went to the laptop that was in the storage cabinet inside the panic room. LJ needed her to follow some commands so that he could remote into the laptop and activate the backup security system so that he could see inside the estate and be able to provide the team of soldiers who were on their way to True and Bosch's rescue with the information that they needed to stay safe themselves. The original plan was for True and Bosch to wait in the underground bunker so that they could be rescued, whisked out of the back of the estate, and driven to an alternate location. There was another team assigned to go to Pastor Tanya's house and her church, and a third team assigned to go with the tech team to the alternate location to get everything set up for True and Bosch's relocation. So while LJ gave True the instructions, Angela used another phone to call Pastor Tanya. They didn't know how whoever this enemy was had found True in the first place, but the assumption was that when Pastor Tanya contacted True's sister Indira to notify her of what was going on with Big Wood's death and True's going off-grid, the traffickers somehow got their hands on the information. Thankfully, Angela was able to get Pastor Tanya on the phone, and when she did, Pastor Tanya said, "Girl, it's a good thing you called me earlier. Stephen was at the church doing an AA meeting, and I was just about to go home and relieve the nanny. Thankfully, I had enough time to get the nanny to throw a few things in a bag for the children and meet me over at my armor bearer's house. Stephen is still at the church. I told him to stay there until he heard from me." Angela asked, "Why? What happened?" Pastor Tanya said, "Somebody ran up in my house. They disabled my security system, and my neighbors called the police. They were gone before the cops got there." Angela said, "Oh my God. Tanya, I am so sorry." Pastor Tanya said, "Girl, it is not your fault. There's no need for you to apologize. I knew that when I agreed to help you out and support True while she's in hiding, that I was taking a huge risk. In the same way I was willing to take that risk when you were in hiding, I was willing to take it for True." The Bible says in John chapter 12, verse 25, that he that loveth his life shall lose it, and he who hates his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal. I'm not quite ready to check out, and neither is Stephen, but we gladly sacrifice our own lives before we'd allow evil to have anyone else's. Angela said, "Amen." Pastor Tanya asked, "Now what about Indira? Is she okay?" Angela said, "Yeah, we have a team on her and her husband's house as well. Apparently, she'd been being followed, but no one's made any contact with her. Thankfully, she lives about 5 hours outside of the town where the rest of True's family lives. While she's not in contact with them, I know True. She'd move heaven and earth to keep her family safe. And we know how this trafficking organization works. They'd go after anybody who they think would get them closer to their targets, which is the only reason why they would run up in your house when it's clear that they already knew where True was. And if there was any doubt about how they found out where she was, them choosing to run up in your house removes all doubt." Pastor Tanya said, "Angela, I am so sorry. Had I known..." Angela cut off and said, "Tanya, it's not your fault either, but I need to go. LJ's got an update for me." When the two women hung up the phone, LJ told Angela and True that he'd gotten the backup security system going, and he had eyes all over the estate. When Sax's plane landed on the tarmac in Denver, Colorado, he was ready for war, even if that meant he had to be a one-man army. Thankfully, with the update from LJ, that provided him with information about the number of men who had invaded Angela and Stephanie's Denver estate, he had the information that he needed to go in without having to wait for the team that would be arriving within 30 minutes of his own arrival. He was actually able to pull a handful of soldiers who were located in the local area and have them meet him on the tarmac. Stack said, "Listen, my boss, your boss, and one of our best lieutenants have been cornered on a heavily secure estate located completely off the beaten path. There aren't any neighbors that are gonna hear gunshots and call the police, and the alarm company hasn't been alerted to do so. That means these fools got carte blanche to do whatever the hell they want. But that also means we do too. From the heat signals picked up by the backup surveillance system, there are less than 30 men alive on that property, and they're leaving no stone unturned in their efforts to locate the truth. The work that True had put in over the years as a finisher and as the right hand in training for Stephanie had earned her the moniker The Truth. Stacks continued saying, "Now we might be outnumbered, but we ain't never outgunned. We damn sure ain't gonna be outmaneuvered. We do not have the liberty to wait on backup." Inside the panic room, True and Bosch could not hear what was going on outside. And with the power out, the backup surveillance system was limited in its abilities to accurately display what was happening in the dark. The backup system was created to function without detection, which meant the cameras didn't emit any light. And the complete absence of light limited their ability to accurately display what they were picking up. Thankfully, those cameras were also equipped with thermal imaging technology that picked up the heat signature on living things, displayed movements for whomever was monitoring the cameras. While Stacks was on a flight to Denver, the handful of soldiers that were stationed there had gone over to the safe house and grabbed everything that they would need for war, including bulletproof vests, night vision goggles, high-powered rifles with scopes, automatic weapons, helmets, knee and elbow pads. See, they weren't going to drive up to the estate. They were going to fly over the estate in helicopters and drop out of the air. Stacks wasn't going in with any old soldiers. He was going in with military veterans who were trained snipers and knew how to put in work from air, land, or sea. And the fools who thought that it was going to be easy to get their hands on True were sadly mistaken. Stacks said, "We need to move. I'm going in front to provide you all with a distraction. You all need to make your way to these helicopters. As we speak, several men are trying to break down a wall inside of the study that Bosch disappeared into when he was under fire. They know he didn't disappear in the thin air. And while they don't know exactly where the panic room is located, they had to have figured out that there must be one. If they get through that wall, they'll be in the secure passageway. Now, they won't be able to get into the panic room itself, but the deeper they get into the house, the more dangerous it'll be for us. Let's roll." While True and Bosch not so patiently awaited the cavalry, LJ and his team continued monitoring the goings-on all over the estate. From the Situation Room in Dallas, Texas, at the Lopez estate, Angela paced and prayed over at her house at the complex in Denton. She told Q all about Big Wood questioning her about what was transpiring at her estate in Denver, and the fact that she told him very little. Q agreed that she did the right thing, but he admonished her not to take advantage of the fact that Big Wood couldn't get out the bed and walk to their house and demand more information. Q said, "Love, I agree that we shouldn't be providing anybody with any information until we have more. But you already know Wood. He's got to be going crazy over there. Now, this is your show, but now that LJ has eyes in the place, this is the perfect time to update him." Angela said, "Okay, but I don't think we need to tell him that those bastards are tearing down the wall in my study. The fact that they brought axes and power tools to a dang on kidnapping is just diabolical." Q said, "I'm not the one that's new to this, remember? I got it." When Q headed to the door, he was surprised to see a very pregnant Salima walking up his step. He said, "What you doing here this time of night, Salima?" Salima said, "Nigga, you already know. 2 plus 2 equals what the hell is going on with True? And before you tell me to ask your mother, I already did. I am not waiting till Stephanie and Corey get to Puerto Rico tomorrow. You, your wife, some damn body is going to tell me what's going on." Q said, "Does your husband know that you out here?" Salima said, "The hell with my damn husband. I am grown, and I'm about tired of being treated like I'm disabled because I'm pregnant. If your wife can be in the thick of things, so can his." Q just shook his head. He was not going to be arguing with his very pregnant cousin at nearly 3 o'clock in the morning about whether she should have the same information that he was going to give the Big Wood. He turned back around, went back up the steps, opened the door to the house, pushed it open and said, "Love, you got company." When the 2 pregnant women came face to face, Angela just shook her head. While she did not expect to see Salima, She was relieved that it was not Stephanie. Stephanie, True, and Rennie had been best friends since they were 6 years old. Coincidentally, Angela, LJ, and Regina had been friends since they were 6 years old as well. So Angela could understand if Stephanie's intuition had led her to Angela and Q's home at nearly 3 o'clock in the morning, even if it was her wedding night. And while Salima and True had become close, Angela knew from the look on Salima's face that it was not about that. Angela said, Salima, you asked the Queen Mother to tell you what was going on, and she said, Salima said, miss me with all that, Angela. I know you know what's going on. And absent being sworn to secrecy, there is absolutely no reason why you won't tell me. I get that I'm not the head of the Baptiste family yet, so I can't expect to be in the know on everything. But neither are you. If her plan is to tell me in a few hours, there isn't any reason why you can't tell me right now. Angela said, you're not new to this, Salima. You know that information is provided on a need-to-know basis. You don't have a need to know right now. I am exhausted. At this point, I've been awake for almost 24 hours. And it doesn't look like I'm going to get any sleep anytime soon. Because I'm waiting for my right hand to give me an update on an operation that I assigned him to. Salima said, cool. Then you can fill me in while we wait. Angela said, the Queen Mother was right. Until you learn how to follow, you're not going to be ready to lead. I'm sure Wise is none too pleased that you left y'all's home with a one-track mind, only concerned about what you don't know. You're supposed to be doing less as your pregnancy progresses. You've already lost one of your babies. Salima said, now you're hitting below the belt. Angela said, but did I lie? You got into a physical altercation with Wise's ex-girlfriend on a suburban street minutes before you knew that police were going to arrive. A physical altercation that you started when you had the means to simply have Hanifa snatched off the street. As opposed to using your resources, you decided to get in the field, putting you and your baby in danger. Salima said, danger? I wasn't in no damn danger. That heifer ain't got nothing on me. I knocked her head between the washer and dryer and kept stepping. And I'll do it again. Because if a chick got beef with me, what Cardi say? She got beef with me forever. Angela said, and that's precisely why you need to sit this one out. Salima said, and you don't. Because if memory serves me correctly, Pot, you put them paws on Stephanie when you was in the hospital, pregnant with the twins. Then you pulled a gun on Stanley at the round table, and you was going to shoot. I saw the look in your eyes. Angela said, that's all water under the bridge. Unlike you, I actually have a Lopez family assignment. Salima said, right. And that's why when I logged on to the Baptiste server, I found documents and files that I couldn't open. The documents were sealed and password protected. And that was new to me. I'd never seen anything like that before. Let me guess. This is all a part of your new effort to reorganize and rebrand the five families. Angela said, yes, it is. Salima said, then you're going to tell me what's in those files. Angela said, actually, I can't because I don't know. Salima said, you a sealed document. Oops. Lie. You may not have seen the files, but I guarantee that the Queen Mother told you everything that went in them. Now we can go back and forth in your foyer, or you can invite me in and tell me what's going on. But either way, I'm not leaving, Angela. I'll be here when LJ calls you with the update, and I'll follow you all around your damn house. Ear hustle until I find out what I want to know. Angela said, I'd much rather use this time to pray for all of the people involved in this operation and for you. Because the next few months are going to require that you exert a level of self-control that you don't have. Salima said, you and that damn Wise are playing from the same playbook. Let me guess. Y'all talked. Angela said, no, we didn't need to. The fact that you're here right now speaks volumes. Before Salima left home, on foot, mind you, she and Wise had a knockdown drag out. Wise said, it's one thing to love your job and love your family too, but this ain't that, big gangster. You in your feelings because you feel left out. And you salty because beating the brakes off Hanifa didn't make it all go away. Why not focus on what you can control? Leave everything else in everybody else's hands. Give the whole thing to God and go to bed. Salima said, you go to bed. The fact that they are going through such great lengths to keep me out of the loop says that I need to be in it. If Angela wants to knock Stephanie out of her spot, fine. Has nothing to do with me. But I'll be damned if she knocked me out of mine. Why, I said, that's what this is about. Who's going to be queen pin of the Baptiste family? Last time I checked, that position already belonged to your aunt. Unless you plan to take it from her, you're not going to make her give it to you. Salima said, well, I was sure that I was going to inherit it right up until that roundtable meeting, where I said, as hard as Angela fought not to be the head of the Lopez family, what would make you think that she'd want to be the head of the Baptiste family? Selima said, the way that she and my aunt are conspiring and leaving everybody else out. Aunt Bella does not seem to have any issue with Angela putting in work, despite the fact that she's pregnant with her grandchildren, 2 of them. And she's further along than I am. But she got her all up in the mix. Well, I said, but Angela's not actually getting in the field. That's the difference between you and her. Angela's content with strategy and leaving the tactics to the shooters. Selima said, yeah, for now. But wait until she really gets her hands dirty. I guarantee you all that is going to go out the window. My aunt wants me sitting on the sidelines while she's grooming Angela. I'll be damned if I get knocked out of my spot on a technicality. Wise asked, what exactly do you think that you can do between now and whenever Bella talks to you that you couldn't do after she talks to you? Selima said, I don't know. But if nobody tells me what's going on, I can't do nothing. And I don't like that. Wise said, well, I'm going to bed. And I would prefer if my wife came to bed with me instead of obsessing over things that she can't control. Selima said, yeah, nah, I'm not going to bed and I'm not obsessing either. I'm going to Angela's and somebody going to tell me something. Wise said, this time of night? No, you're not. Selima said, yes, I am. Wise said, you got my baby in your belly. I get a vote. Selima said, no, you don't. There's nothing to vote about. I'm literally taking a walk in a community that's heavily guarded to my cousin's house. I'm not driving a car. I'm not leaving the property. Hell, I'll let some guards follow me if it'll make you feel better. But I'm tired of everybody trying to control me. And why you're not listening? I'm going because everybody keeps trying to control me. At some point, you're going to have to let me do me. Or we're going to spend more time fighting than making up. Well, I said, big gangster, you focusing on the wrong thing. Your aunt sat you down because you need to focus on the big picture. Our baby comes first. Our family has to come before your seat at the table. You should not have to compete with your need for an adrenaline rush. Selima said, before a family was even a thought, my seat at the table was my priority. Before we got married, you knew that. Hell, after we got married, you knew that. But the minute you found out I was pregnant and you realized that this baby was going to be okay, you switched up. The prospect of becoming a father has become the most important thing in the world for you. And now you want to reduce what's important to me to an adrenaline rush? Like my life is an amusement park ride or a damn jump scare prank? My priorities haven't changed. Yours have. And I love that for you. But nothing and nobody will ever change mine's for me. Why I said, how is it possible that you just like your mother, despite the fact that you don't even have no memory of her? Selima said, nigga, f*** you, and stormed out of the house. Selima was ready to explode. She understood all too well how Stephanie and Corey had ended up divorced. She'd seen more women than she could count give up their own dreams, their ambitions, abandon their hopes, their dreams, and their waistlines, so that they could make motherhood and marriage their identity. And she wasn't beat for none of that. She loved Wise, and she was glad that one of the 2 unborn babies that she carried had survived. But being pregnant was absolutely more trouble than it was worth. And unlike Stephanie, she was not in denial. She was pissed off that she had let herself get knocked up before she had her seat at the table secured, which is why she had taken that bush medicine in the first place. And seeing the hurt on her husband's face when one of the 2 unborn babies that she'd been carrying didn't survive that choice had broken her heart. For him, not herself. She loved him enough to not want to hurt him in that way and to not want to lose him as a result. But every time she was denied an opportunity to do what she loved because she was pregnant, it absolutely enraged her and made her regret not taking measures to avoid getting knocked up. She was here now, so obviously she was going to have her baby. And she was going to love her baby. But she was not going to be left out of the business, completely sidelined, handicapped, brushed aside, or replaced as a result of her failure to properly family plan. Hell, if Wise knew what was good for him, he'd make nice and give her more orgasms and initiate less arguments. Because the more he pissed her off, the less attractive marriage became. While he might be standing on business in his role as a husband and soon-to-be father, he was going to find his life, his family, his house, and his bed real empty when that baby dropped, if he didn't loosen the reins. Selima wasn't nothing like what Wise was used to. And that's what had drawn him to her in the first place. But the adjustments that he'd expected for her to make when she became a wife and got pregnant were just not second nature to a woman who was raised by a single father, completely devoid of a mother, groomed from the gate to be the queen pin, and perfectly comfortable with treating niggas like afterthoughts. Deep down inside, Salima knew she could not blame Wise for being all of the things that came along with being a man. And Wise knew he couldn't blame Salima for not being quite ready to live up to all of the things that came along with being his wife and the mother of his children.
Never showed me what to lose or what to defend. So I chase love with an open wound, looking for something I was never introduced to.